What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM, with another OGGM adventure, your grumpy guide to all things gaming here in Ventura and all across the world. I know I haven't been posting as much as usual, but I've been building up a stockpile of stuff to talk about in August, and I have been really sick with this ear infection thing, so it's very hard for me to hear, and it's very hard for me to talk, and you don't care. So today we're going to look at the idea of the 5-room dungeon and the rule of 3, which I use, and how you could apply both of these ideas to not just fantasy, but any adventure type genre that we're playing. Because, we try and focus on other stuff besides D&D whenever we can. So how do we apply the 5-room dungeon idea and the rule of 3 to Old West, space, superheroes, post-apocalypse, whatever else is out there besides D20 fantasy? And there's a lot. So let's first do the simpler one. The rule of 3, which is what I use a lot, is basically there are 3 things per game session that you want to happen in order to move whatever the story you're telling is forward. Now, once you know what those 3 things are, because you're never really 100% sure what your players are going to do or what they're going to pick up on or where they're going to go, you have the freedom to move those 3 things around in any shape or size during the game as long as they happen. They don't have to really happen in any order, as long as they happen and move the story along to the next point within that 3-4 hour session. So let's say your 3 thing is you need the players to find a letter that has clues in it to move them on to the next point of the adventure. Now, that gives you the freedom to put that letter anywhere. So no matter where they're going in the adventure, if they're not going with what you planned, which leads us to the 5-room dungeon, but they're going in a completely different direction, i.e. the grandmother house scenario, which we talked about before, you still know in the back of your head, I need them to find this letter as one of the 3 things I want to happen tonight. So I'll just put it wherever they're going. So no matter what happens and whatever choices they make, this letter will be found. And then it's the same with the other 2 things you need to happen. No matter what they are, MacGuffin A and MacGuffin B and MacGuffin C, the 3 things, as long as you know what the 3 things are, you can move them around in any way you want in order for them to be encountered within that 4-hour period. Now, from there, we move on to the idea of the 5-room adventure. 5-room adventure, which encompasses everything that you hope to happen in a role-playing scenario into a very tight, controlled 5-room thingy. And again, that doesn't have to be fantasy. It can fit in any genre, and it doesn't even have to be inside. It can be outside. It's just the 5 things that have to happen no matter what. And this is great for when they're not going where you want them to go. And they're just completely off the rails and they've gotten some bug up their butt that they want to go explore that warehouse, or get onto that spaceship, or explore that dungeon that you casually mentioned 16 games ago. And you're like, so the 5-room dungeon idea is very simple, and it works pretty much similar to the 3 things idea, which is there's basically 5 things that happen in any scenario. There's an entranceway, which is guarded 90% of the time. Then there's usually a skill test or 2 that doesn't require combat, but requires the individual or the group to come up with a new and unique way to solve a problem or a puzzle. Then there will usually be an NPC encounter, which requires role-playing. And then you have the lead-up, where they have to do something new and different in order to move the plot along. Maybe a puzzle, maybe a trap, maybe whatever. Something that, again, isn't necessarily combat, but might require saving throws or whatever. And then 5, the big bad fight at the end. Now, once you have those 5 things written down, again, it can be a dungeon, it can be a spaceship, it can be a warehouse that the gangsters are in, it can be anything. It's just that idea that there's these 5 things that usually 99% of the time happen in any role-playing scenario. And if you boil it down, every dungeon ever, every adventure ever, it's still basically those 5 things. And a guarded entrance, a fight, a puzzle, an NPC role-playing encounter, and then another fight, which usually is the big boss. And then you can take those 5 things and interconnect them and make a bigger dungeon and a bigger adventure and a bigger adventure. But again, it's really just 5 things. So once you have those 5 things written down, then if they're not going where you want them to go, and instead they're going to a dungeon that you mentioned 16 episodes ago, and now they suddenly have a bug up there, but, oh, let's explore that. You're like, okay, 5 things. Entrance, guards, fight, NPC encounter, puzzle or trap, and then final fight. Yeah, okay, there you go. And it doesn't even have to happen in, the first 4 don't even really have to happen in order. I mean, always at the end you want a big bad fight with some big bad rewards. But, fight 1, fight 2, encounter, and puzzle can be put in any order. I mean, yeah, I guess you want an entrance, but the entrance could be the puzzle. And then, again, you could move them around. And, you don't even have to have the big bad fight at the end. You could be in the middle. So it could be, puzzle, NPC, big bad, then, more fights, and then the end, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be in that order that we just said. You can move the order around, which is great. Because the great thing is, until it happens, your players have no idea what you have planned for them, really. Even if you're running a module, and they can see the title of the module right there, they still really don't know what you've got up your sleeve. So everything's a surprise to them. So even if you're winging it and making stuff up as you go along, as long as you do it with a level of confidence that you sound like you know what you're talking about, they're going to think you planned that the whole time. And they're like, whoa, how did he know we were going to go there? He had the whole place mapped out already. He's such an amazing DM. And you're like, they're never going to find out. I just faked that in over 3 seconds on a 3x5 card. Yeah, so rule of 3, 3 things that you want to happen during the adventure to move the adventure along can happen in any order at any point during the game as long as they happen. And 5-room encounter, 5-room dungeon, entrance with guards, fight, NPC, puzzle or trap that needs to be solved, and then another big bad fight. Usually, but not always in that order. So there you go. And that is today's topic. I hope you appreciate it. If you do, please take a moment to support me by clicking any of the links down below. Subscribe if you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet. We're only a few days left to August 4th, and we haven't hit our 200 subscriber goal. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do something on my birthday, but if I don't get 200 subscribers by August 4th, no tattoo, which was the deal. Until next time, I am your OGGM, your grumpy guide to all things gaming, reminding you to take a moment to be OG. Yeah.